Well, it is now a tremendous pleasure for me to invite Karima Velji, who has been such an engaged and committed president-elect these past 2 years, to please join me on the stage for the transfer of office, transfer of the chain of office. Karima, you will be a brilliant president. Your strategic acumen will be such a strong asset to CNA as you lead the development of our new strategic plan. Not only are you an expert and experienced healthcare executive, but you will also bring an understanding of international health from your work with the Aga Khan Development Foundation Network. Thank you, Karima, for taking on the role of leading CNA and being its chief champion. You can tell from the past few days how deeply Canada's nurses care about and for CNA. I wish you a wonderful presidency. Take it off. Over here.
Barb, first of all, I can't believe the day is here. It's just amazing. And on behalf of the nurses in the room, the nurses online, and the nurses across Canada, I want to thank Barb Milden for her wonderful, stellar leadership to CNA. Her love for nursing and CNA is palpable every single day. So Barb, it's my pleasure to present you with the President's Pin. I need the pin. The pin is arriving. Beautiful nurses, those in the room and those online. I stand before you today very proud to be the 46th president of the Canadian Nurses Association. CNA was born under the able leadership of Mary Agnes Snively on October the 12th, 1908. The accomplishments of our National Association over the last 106 years have been stellar. CNA has kept its steadfast focus on health and on nursing. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my thoughts about the priorities of CNA over the term of my presidency. Let me begin by extending my deepest thanks once again for the unwavering and passionate leadership of Dr. Barb Milden. Over the past 2 years, Barb's dedication to nursing and to CNA is felt every single day, and she has spent countless hours steering the ship on complex issues facing CNA. Under Barb's leadership, we have navigated the intricacies of governance renewal to comply with Canada's new legislation. Barb, you have solidified the foundation on which we can now build, and I know you are the happiest president, outgoing president of CNA. It's fantastic. I would also like to extend my thanks to our CEO, Anne Sutherland-Ball, and her staff for their leadership and efforts and for making this convention so successful. Beautiful. I applaud our president-elect candidates for putting their names forward to lead our great organization, and congratulate Barb Shellian for your successful candidacy. I look forward to working very closely with you. Thank you to Manitoba, to CRNM for being wonderful hosts, to Kathy Rippin-Sisler and Diane Wilson-Mette, and to the steering group who is overseeing the process to deliver a professional voice for nursing in Manitoba. And I want to acknowledge my beautiful family. My son, Ali Khan, who's here with me. My daughter, Alicia, is writing her final exams in Toronto, and Alnur is with her, but I know they are watching online. I always say my 2 angels live in my left ventricle. It is with this foundation of support from my peers and love from my family that I embark on my journey as CNA president, a journey that I'm privileged to take with you all. This journey starts now. I'll immediately work with CNA on a new strategic plan that will guide the association through the next 4 years. A key piece of that plan will be how CNA will use the next year's federal election as a platform for our position on health outcomes and our health system. I've had the wonderful pleasure to visit many parts of our great country in the past 2 years, consulting with amazing nurses at all levels regarding the path forward for CNA. Recurrently, the theme I heard in my cross-country consultations is about embracing a bold focus on behalf of health and on behalf of nursing, and to align our profession of nursing, almost 300,000 strong across the country. With endorsements from CNA Board of Directors, the tagline that will define my presidency is the following: unleash the power of registered nurses, with the 3 action lines of advocate through action, expand scope of practice, and lead always. Why? Why do we say unleash the power of registered nurses? Let me explain. I thought Evan Solomon's presentation was a beautiful lead into this. Canada's healthcare system is fundamental to Canadian culture and identity. Tommy Douglas envisioned an acute care system solidly supported by a strong primary and public health system to help Canadians stay healthy. As an immigrant to Canada and as a global volunteer, the value of our universal and publicly funded health system is certainly not lost on me. Our family came to Canada in search of two things. Ali Khan often asks me that, why Canada? Why such a cold country? And I would say we came here for two things. One was good health, the other was good education. We chose Canada from many other countries because the values of Canada, inclusiveness, pluralism, diversity, spoke to us. Though healthcare continues to be the #1 priority for Canadians, majority of us continue to choose to sustain the public nature of our precious system. Polls and surveys tell us that Canadians are looking for a change. As a country, we rate overall average or below average, particularly in the areas of access to primary care, we heard the panel today, wait times, health promotion, and avoidable hospitalization. We clearly need a national strategy to deal with an aging population. We urgently need to integrate health services across the continuum of care, especially given the dramatic increases in life expectancy and chronic disease prevalence. In each of our provinces and territories, attempts have been made to reform the system, but the aspirations of Canadians, the heart that we must speak to, the why we must sort out, have not been realized. The very principles of the Canada Health Act, the things that define the value of Canadians, are at risk given that 1 in 6 Canadians, almost 5 million of us, still do not have access to primary care provider. For those who do, almost 2/3 say it's hard to get care outside their clinics regular hours. And only 44% of the Canadian primary care practices have after-hours care of any kind. Despite the evidence that proves the value of community-based healthcare delivery, over 60% of the more than $200 billion we spend annually on healthcare is spent on hospitals, drugs, physicians. We know that by 2026, seniors will constitute more than 1 out of every 5 Canadians. Many of the challenges related to seniors' care relate to chronic disease prevalence, multiple morbidity, and episodic illness management. The inequities within our beautiful country call out to us. Among the Inuit and First Nations communities, the indigenous populations of our country, suicide rates are almost 11 times higher. Infant mortality is 3 times that of the general population, and life expectancy is 15 years shorter than the non-Aboriginal peoples. While much discourse about health is focused on transforming the healthcare system, we know that a majority of our health status is in fact influenced by the social determinants of health, and that includes income, employment, housing, social support, and other things. According to the organization Canada Without Poverty, Canada's poverty rate in 2011 ranged between 10 and 20%. The question then we must ask ourselves as nurses is, what role will we play in shaping the future of health and the future of healthcare? We cannot underestimate the ethical and the political meaning of being the largest profession in the healthcare workforce and the trust that the public has placed on us, and Evan, you spoke about that. This trust means we have not just the ability, but the accountability to make sure that our voices and actions are brought forward. We have a responsibility to unleash our power and to fulfill our calling to those that we serve. Unleash, for me, means to release the full glory of the voice and action, and solutions and our outcomes. That's unleash. CNA's greatest opportunity to unleash the power of registered nurses lies in advocating through action, expanding scope of practice, and leading always. Let me address the first theme. I commit to you on behalf of our board that the underlying theme of our entire advocacy to action effort will be an explicit commitment to preserve our publicly funded universal healthcare system. And equity of access to the determinants of health and healthcare. This is the why of our advocacy efforts. Our nursing values unite us on these matters. While CNA continues to be responsive to a broad range of issues, it is my belief that we must develop a deep focus in one or two national priorities where registered nurses can make a unique contribution. Guided by the resolutions that we passed at our annual general meeting, an example of a focused effort could be the health of our First Nations communities. In fact, regardless of the area we will choose to focus on, when CNA meets with political leaders and asks for improvements to our healthcare system, we will do so with clear, relevant, realistic, and evidence-based goals and offer tangible solutions. To give you an example, the next time we meet with a Liberal roundtable on seniors' care, we will no longer be citing our ask as we need a seniors' care strategy for Canada. Instead, we will unearth from the evidence that we have the beautiful models of care that are team-led, nurse-sensitive, nurse-led, nurse-participating solutions that are working for seniors' care, often in other parts of the world, actually. Unearth that evidence and bring it to bear and put the solutions on the table with a tangible ask. The ask cannot be a broad strategy. It's a message that's lost on nurses that interact with us, but it's lost on the politicians for whom healthcare is not the area of expertise. So the asks have to be very tangible. And in our very history, we have beautiful examples of policy advocacy actions on the nursing aspect of things, where when our asks have been clear, for example, baccalaureate will be the entry to practice for nursing. The ask is clear, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you can march to that light at the end of the tunnel. If we can figure out similar asks on the health side of things, I think our messages will become more crisper and our asks more clearer. And then we will step up with our actions to make those actions happen. As CNA strives for change, we will engage the public to work with us. I strongly believe that igniting the voices of Canadians and moving that voice in front of our advocacy to action efforts will yield the momentum for change and creation of solutions that are desired by those that we serve. Canadians need to believe that we are side by side and partnered with them in moving their issues forward. To unleash our full potential, we also need to tap into harmony within our profession, the one voice, to bring our strong voices forward. Through our jurisdictions, our individual members, our specialty networks, and others, CNA will act on the resolution passed at our AGM to harness our members, and in particular, our direct care members, in this work. This, in fact, requires that we turn the triangle of advocacy upside down. The messages are no longer only directed to politicians. They are directed to the people who elect them, so they can mobilize in action behind the things that we are unleashing the potential on. We will also continue to leverage, of course, our partnerships and collaboration with other groups, such as the Canadian Medical Association, to strengthen the collective voice of health leaders. I also believe that unleashing the scope of practice of registered nurses across the continuum of care is critical for transformation. We are all familiar with the issues of the scope of practice in our profession. Let's instead view this issue as an opportunity to find and enact solutions that we know work. For instance, RN prescribing can open the door to enhanced and equitable access for all Canadians. We will do so by developing a national framework and strategy, and also by reaching out to chief nurses in all levels of government so that we can influence the decisions that impact the day-to-day nursing practice in the best interest and health of Canadians. Part of this task is that we must rebuild the nursing leadership roles that have been lost, ensure they get filled, and then ensure again that the voice gets unleashed on behalf of health, healthcare, and nursing. Additionally, I want to nurture leadership in every registered nurse, because I do know that it's not only found in a job title. It exists right now within each of you. I recently found inspiration in Brooke Davis when I traveled for the annual general meeting of the Yukon Registered Nurses Association. Brooke is a registered nurse in a small Yukon community called Carcross. Sean Secord took me there, and I'll never forget Sean and Joy. You showed me the most beautiful part of Canada, and the territories are going to remain very near and dear to my heart as I provide leadership to our beautiful organization. Brooke Davis works with an expanded scope of practice, including nurse prescribing, which enables her to take charge of her community's health, where she partners with the people she serves, making them and their good health her #1 priority. She leads always. I was so inspired by her because she is just one nurse, one out of nearly 300,000 of us. Learning about her made me think, if this is the power of change from one nurse, the potential for change from our entire profession seems limitless. Lastly, I will commit to lead always. For instance, through my president's columns in the Canadian Nurse, I'll showcase registered nurses who are inspirational, who are making powerful contributions, leading to real and significant outcomes that will inspire other nurses across the country. And I'll make a pitch right now. If all of us use narratives and stories, and these are powerful things for nursing, of the work that nurses do that make a difference every day to people's lives, and ensure that the narrative of nursing is a positive narrative, we will shift the perception of nursing as the go-to profession to seek solutions for health and healthcare. It's imperative that we ourselves portray ourselves in a positive way. Be familiar with the evidence that exists, to be unsure about the evidence, and to state that it doesn't exist, and therefore we are not sure, and therefore we are not aligned with others in a goal that is the foremost goal. Basic access to the first point of contact in healthcare is not the way to go. The positive narratives of nursing matter, because they will shift over time the perceptions about nursing. Constant throughout my 3 priorities of advocacy through action, expanded scope of practice, and lead always, will be an undercurrent of accountability. And I know accountability is a laden word. It has many interpretations. As registered nurses, we are all accountable to the health of Canada's public. As the National Professional Association, CNA, and I, as your president, are accountable to each one of you. This means engaging with you on collaborative projects, sharing progress and the results of our work, evaluating the effectiveness of our efforts, and above all, being transparent. I now want to introduce you and leave you with an image that has the elements of what is needed, what I think is needed for all our efforts to be successful. This is the CNA coat of arms, and it hangs majestically at the CNA House in Ottawa. Let me highlight the features of this coat of arms. You will see the lamp. First and foremost, the lamp is highlighted as the most widely recognized symbol of nursing since Florence Nightingale's service in Crimea. Above the lamp, the three triangles symbolize the people that we serve, the founding communities of First Nations Inuit, the Francophone communities, and the Anglophones. The gold represents the generosity and long duration of the profession. The red represents fortitude, strength, magnanimity, and life. The crest. The lion emphasizes CNA's role as the defender of the profession and of the principles of the Canada Health Act. The scroll itself represents the act itself and the association's advocacy role. The Latin motto, Scienti Sapienta Humanitas, the words knowledge, wisdom, and humanity reflect our values and our virtues. The supports come from the two white hearts, whose grace and swiftness exemplify nurses' work. They show support of nurses and of CNA. The compartment of maple leaves, one from each province and territory, symbolizes the communities served by nurses and represent new life, new beginnings, new knowledge for patients and for nurses. CNA's coat of arms showcases for me that if we are truly to be realizing our accountability on behalf of the people we serve, we need unity and alignment within the profession, collaboration and partnership with others, and imagination and courage in our voice and in our actions. Today, I give you my unwavering commitment to use my time, energy, and experience to lead real transformation across the country. Surely, Canadians deserve this. Thank you so much.